I've been in innovation business for a long time, especially healthcare, over 10 years now. And I spend my whole 36 hours here at our headquarters here on the 20th floor. And even though I see startups all the time, I was absolutely, and I think that was the same for everyone here, it was absolutely energizing to see people that didn't know each other 24 hours before present a solution to a healthcare problem here with total strangers that they worked on for a day and a half. So,
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our second info session of the week for Women in Science and Healthcare Hackathon. My name is Jovelyn Castellanos, and I'm part of the organizing group for this year's hackathon. On the call, we also have Lance Manning, who is a leader for the WISH Hackathon and also part of Texas Healthcare Challenge. Tonight, we have a very special guest, and we are so excited to be able to just share more on what this weekend will entail, but also just an amazing story of an amazing woman entrepreneur who's been disrupting healthcare in so many ways and also has been part of the Health Wildcatters Accelerator. With that being said, just quick reminder that the deadline has been extended for Thursday if you haven't registered already for this week's hackathon. So I'm going to hand it over to you, Lance, to kick us off tonight. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Jovelyn, and welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening for this info session. We have some great things to tell you about, and hopefully you've already registered, and we welcome your interaction at the end of this session to ask some questions and to get some more information. But we'll be hearing in a few minutes from Ms. Jane Herndon, CEO of Sovereignty, and she'll be sharing her story. Also, Health Wildcatters, just a really quick overview. They've helped over 150 companies go through their accelerator and also raise upwards of $70 million. Actually, I've got it switched. It's 70 companies, and those companies have raised over $150 million in the 8 or 9 years that Health Wildcatters has been around. So an excellent resource for entrepreneurship and startups and launching businesses. I want to mention the SBIR fund from the Small Business Administration. They are one of the sponsors of this year's Texas Healthcare Challenge and WISH event. And the reason why we're mentioning them is as part of our event and a few months after, we're going to have some educational sessions on how participants can win non-dilutive grant funding from the various agencies that offer these grants. And there's a number of grants that are awarded every year, but only a small percentage are given to female entrepreneurs. And so our goal for this event is to turn that around, to inspire female entrepreneurs, especially in the healthcare and life sciences field. During our event this weekend, we'll talk about some information sessions that we'll be holding that will discuss the various agencies where these grants can be applied for. And we'll have some guest speakers throughout the next few months so that attendees can plug in to that ecosystem and learn more. So the WISH event, Women in Science and Healthcare Hackathon or Challenge, what does it look like? When attendees show up on Friday, they will hear from people who pitch problem statements in healthcare, things that they'd like to solve that they perhaps have a personal or professional connection to. They'll mix and mingle and join teams. Those teams will hack or develop a solution. They'll get feedback from our mentors who will help them hone their value proposition and their offering. They'll iterate and then present in front of a panel of judges for cash prizes. So it's an exciting weekend that starts Friday evening and ends Saturday evening. Of course, it's not overnight, but you'll come back in the morning on Saturday and join us early that day. We'll look at a schedule later. So the hacking event, it's wonderful to get together with everyone and hear those pitches and form teams. The prizes, there's a number of prizes that you can win. And I will announce that we are accepting early pitching. So for those who are registered and accepted, they will receive an invitation to Discord, which is our platform for virtual and in-person connecting before the event. And those who pitch their concept early will be in a drawing to win some prize money as a way to motivate them. And we also have prizes for those who post on social media during the event with our hashtag. We are cognizant of the current COVID conditions, and therefore we have opened up this event to be virtual for those who prefer to attend not in person, but we are still accepting in-person registrants. We do recommend vaccinations. We will ask for a negative COVID test, either through PCR taken on your own, or you can show up around 5 o'clock and get in and take one of our rapid tests to gain entry. So if somehow you test positive, you can still head home and join us virtually. And we expect a wonderful event and look forward to any of your questions that you might have on this. So we'll turn the time over to our speaker now, and then after she is finished, we will open the floor up to any questions that you have to her, directed specifically to her on what she shares, or onto the event itself. Myself and Jovelyn can help answer those questions. So welcome, Jane. She has a background in tech and healthcare. She recently went through the accelerator of the Health Wildcatters and is leading sovereignty into a new space, healthy aging and wellness and chronic care management. So Jane, I'll turn it over to you.
Great. So I should just hit share screen now? Mm-hmm. Great. Can you guys see? Got it. Great. Well, thank you, Lance and Lindsay and guys. We are really big fans of Health Wildcatters and all the leadership and goodness that you guys provide for the healthcare entrepreneurial ecosystem. And so I'm very excited to speak with you all tonight. And I'm really looking forward to all the great ideas that you guys come up with during the Texas Healthcare Challenge. I'm Jane Herndon, as Lance said, with Sovereignty. We are a spin-out company that owes its very existence, really, to federal support and funding. And per Lance's request, I'll walk you through our Health Wildcatters pitch, but then I'd like to open it up to discussion to find out what's on your mind. So Sovereignty is reimagining senior care and independence at home, like Lance said. And we're doing so with a $4 million NIH SBIR grant to detect change in daily living patterns using machine learning. And so why change detection? 90% of seniors want to age in place, but half of them will require long-term care. And caregivers are key to great outcomes. They're often the very first people to notice something when something's just off with a person, but they can't always be around. And so the challenge becomes, how do you stay on top of change when no one's there to notice? The importance of behavior change is brought home with a very familiar scenario, sadly, to many Americans, when a doctor diagnoses a loved one with Alzheimer's and they regret that there's no therapeutic available and that he or she should call them when something changes. Well, in the fog of dementia, how do you know what change is? And as a caregiver, you're already overwhelmed, really. You really don't need another item on your to-do list. So change in senior function is typically measured and scored using what are known as ADLs, or activities of daily living. ADLs reflect the ability to perform basic self-care functions like bathing and cooking and eating. But most importantly, ADLs are measured through human observation. Family caregivers will try to fill this observation gap, oftentimes with technology solutions like wearables and Alexa and cameras and even robots. But technology solutions require interaction, and they can also lack important context and be very difficult to use, especially if you have physical and cognitive challenges. And most of all, they can really be perceived as being intrusive. So sovereignty automatically quantifies change in activity patterns on an individual level by combining hardware, software, and analytics to create a unique baseline pattern for somebody. And all of this happens in the background. And so there are no cameras or audio. And so what you don't see are cameras. What you do see is somebody just going about their daily life. And from this very rich contextual data of daily living, that includes where somebody is actually located in a home and what household devices he or she may be using, we can produce reports on trending activity on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis. And this actionable insight helps prevent and also predict what potential adverse events might occur. But it does so in a privacy and dignity preserving way because it's all in the background. In our NIH study, we are validating our machine assessment model against human observation. And by providing continuous objective updates every 4 hours, we're not only matching this clinical standard, but improving upon it, and thereby supporting earlier diagnosis, earlier interventions, and personalized care. The key takeaway here on this slide is that sovereignty illuminates context around someone's well-being and ability to take care of themselves by tracking over 23 ADLs and IADLs. So no other method really comes closer. And we do so, again, by requiring no effort of the person and in a privacy and dignity preserving way. To date, we are in phase 2 of our NIH study using our Generation 1 product. And we've made good progress. We've gone from 10 pilot homes to now just about 140 pilot homes in 18 months. And we did this despite being in the middle of a pandemic. This is a great market opportunity given the millions of adults who are living with 2 or more chronic conditions. Our NIH study focus, however, is just on those with dementia. And so if we take 5% of the dementia home care market, we estimate that we can be over a $100 million company in 5 years. So sovereignty goes beyond just delivering peace of mind to create peace of mind just for, the families, et cetera, that you often hear about with a lot of these, quote, monitoring devices. We go beyond to support value-based care type organizations. And our intention is to offer a B2B2C subscription service to prevention and wellness oriented comprehensive senior care providers. And we plan on doing so by starting out, though, with outcomes-based pilots with some strategic partners. And we've gotten to a commercially viable product with the NIH study and as well as our 7 patents, but we haven't really gotten to scale. And so at this point in time, we're looking to strategic partners to take this to the next level by implementing 500 pilot homes. Our team is a group of experienced technology and product development veterans who are ready to scale. Our advisors come from population health, clinical practice, and even smart health and smart health technology. Functional decline, when unnoticed, can really rob us of our self-agency and ability to remain in the homes and the communities that we love. We're a team of daughters, sons, and family members who are dedicated to restoring personal sovereignty and quality of life. If you share our vision for healthy aging and independence at home, I'd love to talk with you. So that's the pitch. As a postscript, I would just like to kind of add that all of this didn't really happen overnight, and that the federally funded programs that I mentioned, things like the Small Business Innovation Research Program and also something known as NSF I-Corps, played a really major role in our ability to launch the spin-out company. So we benefited not just from funding, but from the many training programs like the NIH 3CI program that's based on the Coulter commercialization process, and even things like market research that was provided to us through the something known as TABA, the Technology and Business Assistance Program. These programs helped us not just de-risk the technology, but more importantly, the market risk of our idea. And those of you who have actually commercialized anything in the healthcare arena are probably pretty aware that it's a pretty complex undertaking. And frankly, that de-risking market risk is a never-ending process, really. And so I just also wanted to add, I had noticed, Lance had shared with me a number of your backgrounds, and I noticed several of you were affiliated with universities and that you had backgrounds in STEM. And I would just encourage you to get acquainted with the NSF I-Corps lead at your university and get involved in a program. Just pitch an idea, try to get into what they call a regional I-Corps program, or what they used to call regional I-Corps programs. They're really great. They're super intense, but it's a wonderful way to establish your NSF, what they call NSF lineage, which actually kind of means just your eligibility for future awards and program ideas. So that's really all I have to offer in terms of a speech tonight. I'm happy to hear what's on your mind. And as Lance said, please, if you have questions, programmatic questions that don't have anything to do with this pitch, please go ahead and ask those, because we really want to serve you guys.
Thanks so much, Jane. That was a wonderful presentation. And Jovelyn is saying hello, or clapping. That's the clap sign. Very cool. You're welcome to unshare your screen, and we can open the floor up to questions. So if you'd like to ask a question, you're welcome to send it in the chat or raise your hand, or you can just turn on your video camera. and we'd love to hear from you. So anything on her presentation, on our program, whatever comes to mind. Who's up first? While you're thinking about it, I do want to mention that I posted in the chat a couple of links. One is the NSF I-Corps program, and the other is the TABA, which is a kind of a similar funding program. And that can give you at least some information about what Jane had mentioned. So
Perfect. Yep. And I actually came armed with some links too. There's a great information page just on SBIR at sbir.gov. And also something that I think would be really pertinent to the WISH program is something called, and particularly those of you who might be considering applying for SBIRs at NIH in particular, it's called the Application Assistance Program through NIH, and it is geared especially towards women. And what they do, it's there, you can go to that link and you'll see which are the participating institutes, but it's great because it's a several month program. And what you do is you basically pitch an idea. I think it may happen at least twice a year, be offered. And so if you're thinking about applying for an SBIR, this is a wonderful thing to take advantage of. And you just fill out a form and pitch your idea basically. And then if you're accepted, you're assigned a consultant who will usher you through how to submit an application. So it's quite phenomenal, a great value.
I will say that these links, one thing we can do, and I'll ask Lindsay or Jovelyn, is to pull them and perhaps list them on our webpage when we post this video. This will be a recorded video that we'll post on our webpage so it can be viewed by others. So please make note of that. We did have a question. Someone asked if NIH funding opportunities from someone earlier, Jared, I think. And so for this event, this WISH Hackathon, we won't necessarily link you up to funding opportunities, but we are going to, after the event, talk about the SBIR program and the various agencies, NIH, NSF. We're going to help point you in the right direction, but there's multiple agencies that are covered. I mean, there's probably more than a dozen, and it's great to learn about which ones might fit best within the area of interest that you have. So Jared, hopefully that answered your question. Other questions? Veronica, I saw your hand raised. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Veronica. I'm a grad student at University of Texas at Dallas, studying pain and stress in neuroscience major. And thank you for your talk. It was very nice presentation, very clear cut and very straightforward. I know what your company does right now. So I do have a couple of questions. So first question, it's kind of a personal question to you, I guess. So what motivated you to, open up this small business, company, and what is your background that kind of helped you to get along to this path? And my second question is, as a female entrepreneur, what was like a hardship that you faced maybe while prepping this, your company's sovereignty? I don't know if I'm saying right.
Yeah, you're right. Great.
And the last question is regarding your company. So I know personally that I volunteered a lot with geriatrics department. Mm-hmm. And a lot of problem with elder people is also of their communications. So yes. A lot of times they use the words like things like the broken words or broken language, and that's how you kind of know the change in there. So is there are things that you're building towards your nice, AI systems that, grabs the change? It'd be my last question.
Veronica, these are fantastic questions.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for paying attention. No, I'm always so honored. No, I mean, getting somebody's attention in, this crazy day and age is really a gift. So I really appreciate that. My motivation. My mom has dementia.
Oh.
And so, I noticed it before she was diagnosed. And I had been a consultant with the inventor of this technology. And I, at the time, was teaching a course for another friend, kind of stepping in, doing him a favor for entrepreneurship for graduate students. And I was teaching something known as Lean Launchpad. And I thought, wow, it would be so great if the students could kind of take this technology and do a little bit of the market validation on their own. And so after doing that, I realized, wow, there's a there. There's definitely a problem. And this could be a really unique solution to that. And so certainly a very personal motivation and familiarity with the inventor and entrepreneur who's a genius. He does NASA projects in his spare time for fun. Just a super amazing person. And I am so inspired by him. And, I was like, wow, even when I met him first years ago, I thought, wow, he'd be such a cool person to be in a startup with. And so, that little seed was planted. So I would say, like, for those of you who are engaging in this program, which I just love, I love this idea of this hackathon and engaging a lot of your peers and women. I think, you may find somebody that you see that, you're like, wow, that's a really smart person or a really cool person. So don't ignore those thoughts is what I want to say, because sometimes these things can kind of manifest themselves. Hardship. Wow, I guess, being a full-time family caregiver has been the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. And I think running a startup is maybe the second hardest. And we're very, very young and very new. And so I have yet to experience probably, half of the challenges that I'm going to experience, but I think doing both of those at the same time, some might call insanity, but it fuels my passion and it fuels my tenacity. And so sometimes people call this being in love with the problem. Well, I don't exactly love this problem, but I have a huge passion for it, for sure. And see what else. Oh, about the AI and the broken language. I think that's a fascinating observation. We are looking at mostly behavior patterns associated with the most common ADLs, of self-care at this point. But it is not to say that this wouldn't be something that we would look at, down the line. But yeah, for right now, we're not quite that sophisticated, but I love that idea. And there's so many other really cool ideas, particularly leveraging AI. So any other questions or that was
fantastic. I love your company. It's very becoming a big problem in our country, separating older generation to young generations. And personally in my country, South Korea, there are a lot of young people who are committing suicide because they are so burnt out from like taking care of their elderly, parents and stuff while also working full time. So I think this is going to impact the healthcare so much.
Wow. Yeah, it reminds me, I worked in mainland China. This is really, I'm giving away my age, but I worked there in the 80s, and that was when the one-child policy was enforced. And so that similarly, that generation where there's, this one child having to care for both parents, it's it's a real pressure and being felt across the globe. This is obviously a global issue. It's a global challenge, what I like to refer it to as. Interesting, your background in Korea. We related to that, we just were selected as one of the first 50 global companies to participate in LG, in LG's, what are they calling it? Their Nova program. They have this startup accelerator in Silicon Valley.
Yes,
And
like
so
a
we're
unicorn.
super excited about that. I love, I'm really excited. And that just happened.
Yeah, they're really known for, emerging the healthcare and trying to fund a lot of startups.
Wow. Well, we're very privileged to be part of that, and we can't wait.
Cool.
Veronica,
I'm
great
more than glad to
questions.
see it.
Thank you so much. And you never know who you can meet through these events or who might want to hire you in the future. So be on the lookout. And Jane, I'm sure you can get a hold of her. You saw her slides. If she likes, you can probably find her on LinkedIn. So
Absolutely.
all right, others. Who else has questions?
Hi, good night. Thank you, Jane, for your talk. I have a curiosity about the data. Who receives that data? Who interprets? Is the family? There is a physician associated with your company?
Great question. Right. Okay. In our early pilots, it was the families, and you're really zeroing in though on a really critical issue, and that is companies like ours can gather all this great data, right? But particularly when it's applied to something like this, like caregiving, it comes down to who cares, but who cares to intervene, who has that capability to intervene. So in the example of the families where we did our earliest pilots, yes, it was for the primary caregiver. It could have been a spouse, or most commonly here in the United States, it's the adult child, typically a woman, a daughter. And we had an instance where this woman had not one, but both parents who suffered from dementia. And one of whom, I think it was her father, was getting up at night, because of the day-night confusion, and taking a shower, or heaven forbid, turning on the stove. And so because our system is integrated in household appliances, we were actually just able to do some very simple alerts. So when the father got into the shower or he turned on the stove, a text was sent to, you're going to love this. This woman's brother lived right next door, but she was really the one who was orchestrating all the caregiving and the caregiving management. But anyway, it sent a text to the brother so that he could come and intervene, and turn off the stove or get dad out of the shower. So in that case, it went to the family. But what we're finding is that as we talk to, say, assisted living facilities or even home care agencies, they are seeing this as a great tool for more proactive intervention and basically for care triage, because they can see, oh, wow, okay, somebody's trending not in a great direction. Maybe Mrs. Jones needs more assistance. So the data would be going to them. But then the third scenario, and this was, I think, the most exciting, and this was actually suggested to us by this woman who was the primary caregiver for both of her parents. And she said, you know what? The data is most useful to my physician. I wish he had this data. And so that certainly is envisioned as part of our roadmap, definitely providing that. But it has to be something, what we're finding is that we're looking for strategic partners who understand, who basically have interventional capabilities, if that makes sense. So I'm just curious, why did you ask that question?
I don't know. It's because maybe because I'm in the science field. I'm a postdoc at UT Southwestern, so maybe because of that, I was curious.
No, that's great. No, I love it. I love these questions. These are great questions.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Others, any other questions?
One other thing I just wanted to add, I put another link to the NSF project pitch. And this was something that came up in one of our SBIR related presentations in Health Wildcatters, but NSF has now simplified the process for gaining NSF lineage or sort of getting into NSF world. National Science Foundation, by the way, NSF. And they have this process called Project Pitch, where they've simplified your ability to go and kind of road test your idea to see if this might be something that that agency would be interested in funding. And so they'll give you feedback, and it's a pretty painless process. And so I just put that out there for people, just for future reference. But you never know, maybe some of these ideas that you guys come up with over the weekend, you might decide they have legs and you want to go after something like that.
A couple of answers to questions that people have had over the last few days. Number one is, this is a female-focused event. Are we allowing males to attend? We are prioritizing females, but it is open to everyone. So if you have a friend that would like to attend and he's interested, we'll probably accept it. What else? Other questions? Jovelyn, am I missing anything? Lindsay, are we missing anything? If you have a question, you can raise your hand or say something in the chat.
Lance, I think maybe going over the schedule of the event would be great, just to get a feel of what to expect and kind of like the flow, especially with like COVID, and then going into the night of Friday night and then Saturday night.
Great. Let me pull that up. Okay, I'm going to be sharing my screen, and this is, let's see here. There we go. So this is the homepage of the Healthcare Challenge, and here's the information on the event. Registration deadline by this Thursday, especially for the virtual option. But we are doing a check-in. We're going to update this. You can arrive by 5 o'clock, and our event will start at 6. So we have about an hour to register, check in, and also show your test or get tested. During the evening, there will be problem pitching that starts at 6:45 after a short program to get us kicked off. And then teams will form between this time, and they'll hack and meet up until the end of the first evening around 9 or 9:30. Day 2 starts with a 9 o'clock kickoff. We open the doors at 8 for a breakfast that will be provided. And the other thing that I'll mention, if you are attending virtually, the schedule still applies. We have Zoom and Discord, so you'll hear presentations on Zoom, and then you will be on Discord, which is a pretty cool system that allows you to meet and talk with other people, and then branch off into your own group. But that will also be on the same schedule. So Saturday, the same. You'll meet up with your team until noon. You'll keep hacking from 1 to 4. 4 p.m. is when you'll be finished, and you will submit your presentations. These presentations are a 3-minute pitch to our judges, and you'll get 2 minutes of feedback during this time of the final presentations at 5. Then we'll have a break for dinner. And then after that, winners will be announced, and we'll have some additional speakers. So this is all on the website. We also have a FAQ section where you can, ask. You can look at questions that have been asked already, and we also have a blog that has some of the information about this and various perspectives. So hopefully that's helpful. Any questions on that?
Looks like a fun event.
Yeah, yeah, we're excited. And, you know, we are trying to motivate people to pitch the problem that they want to solve. So you can do that online before the event starts this week, or you can show up Friday and do that. And so it's a 1-minute pitch that you'll give. I joked with Jane that I would ask her to give a 1-minute pitch on her problem she's solving. It totally forces you to think differently. And in fact, I took some notes, and I'm gonna take a stab at it, Jane, if you'll let me.
I will totally let you, and I'll probably put it on my website. No.
So here's Jane's 1-minute problem pitch if she were starting from scratch, and that is 90% of our seniors want to age in place, and 30 million adults are living with 2 or more chronic illnesses. It's very difficult to keep track of those in our lives who are nearing those ages when they're getting Alzheimer's or dementia, and the current way to help them, whether it's wearables or robots or cameras, really doesn't do a great job. And so in my problem that I'd like to solve, I'd like to figure out how technology can help us better support these populations of seniors who want to age in place and lead to better outcomes and more comfort for them and their families while they're at home. How did I do?
Bravo. A+. A+. Fantastic.
Thanks. So that's it. You think of your problem, you list some of the challenges and some context, right? You know, understanding the numbers is really important, and the scale of this. So whatever problem that you want to pitch, we welcome you to attend, and you know, we welcome any other questions that you may have. Do we have a chat here? Chat item. Okay. Oh, that's someone listed the blog. Okay, great. Well, if that's all we have, no other questions, I want to thank you all for attending and for hearing our guest speaker. Jane, thank you so much for joining us and giving your perspective on your business and your experience. We see some applause here from the virtual audience. So any other last words, Jane? Anything from Jovelyn or Lindsay before we close out?
Well, I was sharing with Lance my admiration for those of you who are taking the plunge and just embracing this opportunity. I think you're not going to regret it, and it's going to be really, really fun. Like I said, just each kind of experience like this just kind of emboldens you for the next one. So I applaud you, and I hope you have a great time. And it reminds me of, somebody mentioned this to me, but they were like, you know, just get comfortable with feeling uncomfortable or something along those lines. And I think that is so especially true in entrepreneurship. It's definitely something that will humble you, because you're constantly you constantly expose yourself to new ideas and new challenges. But I think events like this are really a great stepping stone. And so I applaud you for taking part in this.
Great, thanks. We do have one last question. Yimei Liao, do you want to ask your question?
Yes, thank you. Hi, Jane, that was a wonderful pitch. And thank you for sharing with us your journey. I am a graduate student at UT Southwestern, and I also study neuroscience like Veronica. I'm just curious to learn, was your background related to businesses? And then if not, like how long did it take for you to embark on this entrepreneur journey and then to actually have a successful spin out? Like what were the preparations that you did that you found was very helpful? And then could you give us some suggestions?
Absolutely. Great question. Okay. My background, I am a liberal arts major. I don't have any great, STEM background. The irony is that my dad, when I was in high school, he was constantly saying, you need to be an engineer. And back in the day, I was like, oh, girls aren't engineers. so stupid, because my entire career, guess who I've worked with? Engineers, scientists, inventors, and innovators. And so, yeah, and my parents were entrepreneurs. That's the other hysterical thing. My both parents had a medical and surgical supply business. And I swear to you, as a child, I was like, oh, no, no, no. And I didn't want to have anything to do with it. But I guess because my parents talked about it day and night. But I guess it seeped in there because it kind of started coming out, and everywhere I worked, it was like, I was always working on, I think there's a better way we could do this. And, oh, there's a new process, a new program, a new project, a new product. And let's build a sustainable organization that'll help that flourish. So, I didn't really realize it. I didn't really recognize it until probably, and this is I'm really late in life. So another, key or lesson learned, it's never too late. It's never too late to start. So I think, to go zero in on your question, like prep, I think doing things just like this, just like I said, just having the guts to just get out there, just put yourself out there, your ideas, work with new people is critical. And so I think this is excellent preparation. I think I also mentioned, if you do have a particular product or a company idea, something like an NSF I-Core, and probably for those of you affiliated with universities, maybe you guys have something called Blackstone. Do you guys have like a Blackstone Launchpad? Have you heard of that?
Yes, we do.
Okay. Have you been involved in it in any way?
Yeah, I just recently participated in the ideas competition, so I learned a great deal from that.
There you go. And so each one of these kinds of experiences, doesn't it kind of give you more confidence to go do the next thing?
Totally, I agree.
So you guys are on the right path, and I am really glad, and thank you, Lance and Lindsay and all of you for Javelin, for making this thing a possibility for folks, because this is, I'm telling you, if you're at all curious about making your idea into a company at some point, this is a wonderful, wonderful opportunity and experience. So did I answer your questions, Ime?
Yeah, I think there was one more that I asked, like, how long did it took for you to actually launch your product?
Oh, okay, great. Absolutely. Great question. We, going back on that example I gave earlier about how I was a consultant to this inventor, and I became aware of the technology and the potential to apply it to this problem area. He had been working on the technology part, and I guess we together collectively started refining this particular solution. And so we've been thinking about it for a couple of years at least. And typically for deep technology type solutions, that's not unusual. You kind of lead with the technology, and then you kind of have to back into learning about the market and the problem space and what we call the ecosystem and its various complexities. And in healthcare, things like reimbursement, and then you have like influencers, beneficiaries of the solution. So it can be somewhat complex. Mm-hmm. So that's just kind of getting it shaped into a potential solution. And then you still kind of face many of the market uncertainties of acceptance. Mm-hmm. and adoption. So yeah, it's a process. So I guess that's why folks say pick a problem you're really passionate about. And these types of solutions that are related to deep technology, they do have a longer trajectory. It's not just, developing an app on your phone. Not to say that's a bad thing. That can be a wonderful thing. But yeah, they're different animals.
I see. Wonderful.
Great. Thanks so much, Ime. All right. Well, I think we've had a wonderful session tonight. Thank you for sharing your time with us on this Tuesday evening, everyone. And good luck with the event. Hopefully we see many of you there and you apply and tell others, please. The door is open to attend.